It's always enlightening to hear from you. Just a little disclosure here, I was an airman back right after the Wright brothers did their thing. But all three of my sons are currently in the Army, 2 active duty and 1 Black Hawk pilot in the Florida Army Guard. And so, you know, that's an Army family from that standpoint. But this is for everyone. You know, SOF is often referred to as the tip of the spear. And keeping with that analogy, the vast majority of the rest of the spear is provided by all of you, the service branches. Some in Congress believe that national security could be provided much cheaper by investing a little more in SOCOM and cutting a lot more from the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. I know that without the enormous share of the service support you contribute to SOCOM, SOF doesn't function. And while digging for hard data to support both your traditional and special operations support expenses, I was surprised to discover that none of the branches have a comprehensive list of common service support they contribute to SOF, or understanding of what it really costs for you to annually support SOF. So in this year's NDA, I'm pursuing language that would direct each service to identify the support that they give and how much it costs, because what I want to make sure is that you're resourced properly and that, you know, this, I think, sometimes misguided aspect that SOF can solve all of our problems, you know, if we're going to resource SOF, then how does it affect, and we don't want it being taken from the general services. So if you could, and like I said, we've checked, would you support that in regards to that kind of language?
Well, for the Army, absolutely, sure. We can, in fact, it's a great idea to come up with a list of how we're supporting SOF, because as General Votel testified, I think it was last week, and I can certainly attest to that, is that the United States military's special operations forces depend upon the parent services of all of us and the conventional forces for their very existence, not only in their training, in their manning, in their equipping, but also operationally. It's much, much more difficult for them to operate when they're out there just by themselves. But when they've got an architecture around them of conventional forces, air, naval, and land, then they're much more effective.
Sir, the Navy would absolutely support that.
So we would support it, and I just, again, I think all of us realize we're part of a joint team.
Right.
And we need the SOF guys and gals to do what they do, and as General Milley said, and General Votel, I'm sure, would validate that they can't do what they do without us being there to provide the capabilities. So we operate as a joint force. And I think, quite frankly, there's a lot of things that conventional, and I don't really like that term, but conventional forces do that are part of what are perceived or seen as what the SOF is doing, particularly in Iraq and other places where we're involved in advising and assisting and training foreign militaries. But it's not about the credit, it's just about, we work with each other, and I'd be certainly willing to show what the costs are.
John Walsh.
Yes, sir, we completely agree with that. By the way, the good news for all of us is the greatest spokesman for this necessity of a strong conventional force to support SOF is the commander of U.S. Special Operations Command.
Absolutely.
And has been for a while.
Well, and he's repeated that on numerous occasions that, you know, SOF is great. It can do certain things and do them really well, but they can't reopen the Straits of Hormuz. They can't withstand an assault by a conventional force. You know, so there's limitations, and we need to have all of that as a joint task.